you very likely want to generate more leads, more booked calls, and maybe more signups for your SaaS using Claude Code, but you're kind of overwhelmed. Likely you also have a bit of FOMO because you see all of these people on LinkedIn and YouTube talking about how they're using Claude Code to generate results. But let me tell you, the big problem that is currently in the market is that nobody's actually showing you how to set up these systems. And I want to alleviate this pain from you. And I want to guide you step by step how you can go from noob in Claude Code to actually setting up your first cold email campaign fully done by Claude Code. And I'm talking here about setting up email inboxes, buying domains, getting your email sequencer up and running, sourcing the leads from signal sources, and then also getting the email addresses, generating the AI variables for the copy. I'm talking end to end, and I hope you will enjoy this video. So with this said, let's actually hop directly into building, and we'll actually start with going into instantly, and I'm going to briefly show you one of our campaigns that we've been running. So we essentially target YC founders from recent batches, and you can imagine that these are very hard to target because for those who don't know, YC is one of the most competitive startup accelerators. So they're bombarded with emails and cold DMs. So we still managed to get a very decent reply rate of 3.5% on one of our copies, and you can see one of our split tests really flopped. So on average, we got a 2.06% reply rate, but this will go up because I just turned off the bad copy which we split tested. But that's part of the game, right? I'm not here to glorify this whole thing. And that's also the power of split testing, because if we wouldn't have run this test, we wouldn't have known, right? But with this said, let's actually hop into Claude Code, and I want you to show you a couple of fundamentals there. So just for your information, I'm using the terminal Warp. I personally just really like it, but you can essentially also use any terminal of your choice. And you can also use the Claude Desktop or the Codex Desktop app if you prefer that, if you like to have a nice UI. I personally just prefer the terminal. Exactly. So with this said, the first thing you need to do is actually set up a folder on your local machine, and let's just call this go to market. So in Warp, if I navigate to my root directory, what you can see is I can get the folder GTM, and then the first thing likely I want to do is I just want to start with Claude Code, and that's really the benefit of Warp here. As you can see here, it already recommends me this command. So let's go with this thing. Awesome. So now we have a Claude Code session started. And the first concept that I want to explain is, or the first two concepts actually, is we want to have two things in our GitHub repo or in our repo in general. And the first one is we want to have the integrations. And this is something I'll cover in a second. And the second thing is we want to have skills, because without these things, Claude Code is just a very, very smart coworker, but it isn't skilled yet. It isn't instructed properly. And the last layer, there's actually 3 points, is the agent.md. And there you can really just explain to Claude Code in natural language who you are, what your company does, who you target, what your offering is. And then based on that, it should create you a Claude MD, which should help you with your go-to-market action. But I don't want to go into that topic. That's something you can check out on any other YouTube tutorial. Today, we really want to focus on how to launch GTM campaigns using Claude Code. So with this said, the second thing I want to show you, if I click on Dash, you can see I have so many skills here. And all sorts of things you can do with Claude Code. And for those who don't know what a skill is essentially a markdown file, which is essentially just a text file, which instructs Claude Code to do certain actions. But now, to get a bit more concrete, what are the first steps we need to do in order to launch an email outbound campaign? And before we launch anything, we first need to set up inboxes, because we will never send cold emails from our primary domain. So for this, let me head over back to our browser, and I want you to first head over to Cloudflare, because that's the area where we will buy our domains from. Because we will never send cold emails from our main domain. We'll always use burner domains, which we buy either from Cloudflare, or you can use other places like Dynadot or Namecheap to buy these domains. I just prefer Cloudflare because I've already created a skill and an automation which can auto buy me these domains, and this is something I want to show you in Claude Code. For this to work, you need to add your credit card to Cloudflare that the agent can actually pay for you. And the second thing is you want to add your account API token so that it can actually do actions for you. So if I head back to Claude Code, as you can see, I have multiple sessions open. I've instructed Claude Code, can you buy us another domain which is similar to our main one on Cloudflare? And what it did, it loaded the Cloudflare domain buyer. And the great thing about this is you can also just instruct your Claude Code and tell it, hey, I want you to create me a skill that buys me domains and calls the Cloudflare API to buy these essentially. And then this is a repeatable action. Like that, I can scale my cold email much more seamlessly because I have this skill, right? And as you can see here, it searched for domains, and what it found out, the runoxygen.com domain is still available, and I confirmed it is allowed to buy it. But usually, of course, this is just one domain. But if you do this at scale, at bulk, like we bought I think over 60 domains just in one session, this saved us already 30 minutes. And if we scale this for ourselves, but also for other people, like our clients as an example, then we're already saving massive amounts of time. And like this, we can either have more profits or lower our prices to be more competitive as an example. So I think I should really briefly check if we have the domain. Runoxygen.com, perfect. We got the domain, awesome. So the next step, what you want to do is you want to connect your Cloudflare to Zapmail, because that's the place where we want to buy our email inboxes. I'm not affiliated with them. I really just like their product. What they allow you to do is they allow you to buy mailboxes from Gmail and Outlook. What you can see here, we have over 220 inboxes from Gmail and Microsoft. And for this to work, you first need to have domains. You can also buy domains on Zapmail. They're just a bit more expensive because they're just buying them from Cloudflare, and we're just going directly to the source. So as you can see, you can connect existing domains, which I did from my Cloudflare account. So you can connect these domains essentially, connect them to Cloudflare. But again, I don't want to set up these inboxes myself. I don't want to export them to Instantly myself manually. What I want to do is I want to use the MCP. And what you can essentially do is you just go under settings and then into integrations, and then you have this Zapmail MCP server. And the great thing again here is don't ask me, ask Claude Code to set this up for you. So you could actually just set up a new session, run Claude Code in there, and then just ask it, set up the MCP of Zapmail, and then it will point you to a place where you can add your environment variable, and that's it. That's all you need to do to add the Zapmail MCP server. And like this, you, of course, again, you need to buy the inboxes. It costs, I think, around $3 or $3.50 per inbox, which is pretty standard and affordable pricing for inboxes essentially. And once you have done this, or better said, once the agent has set up your inboxes, what you can do is you want to export all of these into Instantly. I've already done this, so there's nothing for me to do here, but it's pretty straightforward. You can also ask your agent to export them. And if you go into here, there we have all our email accounts. So as you can see, over 220, and you just want to make sure that the warm up is enabled so that these inboxes are getting warmed up. For those who don't know what a warm up is, it's very simple and straightforward. It's just simulating traffic on these domains so that they don't appear as fake accounts, which they kind of are. Pretty ironic in that sense, but it's essentially sending emails to people and responding to emails so that it simulates human behavior, so to say. And you really need to warm them up for 2 to 4 weeks to make sure that your send to is a bit tight. It will work, but just make sure you ramp up the volume very slowly. We actually created them almost 2 weeks ago, so we're almost ready to go. We just had a couple of inboxes ready to send, which we did for the YC Founders campaign, which we're building together in this video. Awesome. So if we head back to Warp, what we want to do in the next step is actually we want to get our leads sourced. So for this, the first step we want to do is we want to install the Oxygen CLI, because that's essentially the platform we want to use to source our leads, to enrich them with verified emails, to generate AI variables. That's essentially the place to go. And funnily enough, that's the SaaS company that I've built. So you can actually head over to oxygenagent.com, and what you can do and see here is we have a lot of integrations with go-to-market tools, including Instantly, which we have connected here. You can connect your CRM. This is something we can cover in another tutorial. Then we also have Zapmail as an integration, as an example. We have all the tools you desire in go-to-market, but the main benefit which we have is the database and the workflows. But first you need to install it, because Oxygen is a CLI and MCP server, which means it puts Claude Code on steroids. It guides Claude Code to be very productive with their GTM. And in order to get started, I prefer the CLI. So what I can do is I can npm install the CLI, and then I need to verify that I am logged in. So for this, I'll just open up a terminal, and on the website, on this homepage, you will see tutorials on how to do it yourself. But you essentially just paste this into your terminal, and this will redirect you to the browser. Make sure you're authenticated, and it has worked successfully. That's all I need to do. I head over back to the CLI, and as you can see here, boom, we're authenticated, and I have a couple of organizations. That's also one of the benefits of Oxygen. You can manage multiple organizations if you're a go-to-market agency. Exactly. So let me close this off. We're authenticated and good to go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually create a scraper for Y Combinator, because I want to target YC startups. You can do whatever you want. You can source leads from all different data vendors, which you can see here. We have managed credits for that. But I want to be a bit more creative. I want to show you the power of Claude Code, essentially. So if we go here to data sources, we have so many different ones like Apollo, Contact Out, Lead Magic, Cross Data, Prospeo. With this included, there's lead databases, but there are also signal databases like Signalbase. So you get a lot. But today I want to show you the creativity that you can unlock with Claude Code, because I want to target YC founders. And I've actually already created this campaign. So let's show you this. Can you check the YC scraper you build and explain it to me how it works and where you store the leads. And another hack I want to also show you is, personally, I'm now writing this, but usually what I do is I use Whisperflow. So Whisperflow is where you can just talk in natural language and it will just write the prompt for you. So just by hitting one of the FN keyboard and just yapping, it will allow me to essentially spawn more Claude Code sessions faster. Yeah. So what you can see here is it's searching for the YC scrape it has done, and we'll just let it rip. So as you can see here, what is essentially explained here is that Y Combinator founders, they just got scraped by Claude Code natively. I just told it, scrape me YC founders. And what it did, it stored them actually into this Oxygen table here. So if you head over to Oxygen in the database section, the great thing that these agents like Claude Code can do is they are great at managing databases and tables, essentially. And we actually host the database for you on your behalf, so that Claude Code essentially can create these tables, as you can see here in YC founders. And what we want to do is, as you can see here, we have over 1,900 YC founders in here. And you can see the batch which they were in. But also the more important part is then you can just ask Claude Code. It should enrich their email. And as you can see here, we have a waterfall email enrichment feature in Oxygen. This is really the power of Oxygen, or one of the benefits you get. It's like Clay, where you can see these data vendors here. But the benefit is that Claude Code can configure everything for you. So as you can see here, we have this waterfall enrichment where we first call the Blitz API, then Prospeo. And like this, we get a very good coverage, essentially. And after that, I've asked Claude Code to actually generate me an AI variable, because I want to do personalized outbound to these people. And we want to reference their ideal client profile. So if we head over to the copy, which I've created also with Claude Code, here you can see the split test. So it's like, hey, Clint, I've seen you've been in the YCX26 batch. Is it right that you're targeting marketing teams? So we're trying to make this personal. We don't try to make it too salesy and pitchy. That's why we're offering actually free resources upfront, because we know these guys are cracked with all these coding agents. So we are very likely know that they will be using or trying to use Claude Code in your GTM. And what we're offering them is a GTM repo with over 90 pre-built GTM integrations, which is essentially just Oxygen. That's our lead magnet, so to say. And this has performed quite well, where we just split tested 2 different subject lines, and this one outperformed dramatically. Exactly. So with this said, if you head back over to the table, this is the reason why we essentially generated this AI column. And this is all written by Claude Code. Claude Code has written this prompt here. You're extracting the ICP for a YC startup so it can be plugged into an outbound sentence. So what they get is essentially this instruction, and based on that, it has generated me these ICP variables. Perfect. And in the last step, if we head over back to our Claude Code session, it has actually pushed these leads instantly into the campaign. Exactly. What I could add on top of that, I could say, by just copying this table, I could also tell it to actually save them into my Attio CRM. So let me do that. So let me copy that. I've just pasted this copy button here, because this copy is essentially the ID of the table, so that Claude Code better knows how to use it. And what I can do now, I'm gonna use this button here, so that Whisperflow essentially records what I'm saying. I want you to actually save all of these leads which have an email address and the ICP is filled out into my Attio CRM, put them into the stage lead, because these are essentially high intent leads for me, and use the action column in Oxygen for that. So I've just sent out this prompt, and now Claude Code will use the Oxygen CLI to create another action column to save these leads into my CRM Attio, essentially. Awesome. So we'll just let it cook for a couple of minutes. I actually just realized I needed to reconnect my connection in Attio. Exactly, and you can do this in this section here. Under Attio, you can add an account, and then you get redirected to add the connection. And then all you need to do is ask Claude Code to essentially add you another column. If I head over to the right project and the right table, here we go. Then the next step is adding the Attio column. But on this note, one nice feature of Instantly is what you can do is add subsequences, because if somebody sends you a positive reply, you can give them like a standard message. In our case, it's clear we want to send the repo, and then offer them a free discovery call essentially. That's how our sales process works. And once you're happy with the subsequence, you can go under the section and then launch it to publish it. Awesome. As you can see here, and now it's live. Exactly. And with this said, I hope you found any value. What you've learned in this video, to sum it all up, is you can auto buy domains on Cloudflare using Claude Code. You can set up the inboxes using the Zapmail MCP. You add them in to instantly warm them up. Then to launch a hyper-personalized outbound campaign with AI variables with intent, you can use Claude Code to scrape you any lead, more or less. And if it doesn't have access, you can usually use the Oxygen CLI to get the lead from a database like Apollo, Blitz API, or signals like from Signalbase. Then you can generate hyper-personalized variables. So thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know your questions in the comment section, and yeah, you can sign up for a free tier on oxygen-agent.com. Have a nice day.